Harper Audio presents A Christmas Tale by Cressida McLaughlin, read by Laura Kirman. Wellies and Westies, Part 1. 1. Now just stay in the bag until I say so, okay? This could go one of two ways. Cat pushed the furry head back into her cavernous turquoise handbag and hoisted it up on her shoulder, pushing a strand of her pixie-cut chestnut hair out of her eyes. The sun was hesitant, the early March day too cold to be called balmy, but it was trying hard, and the thought that they were at last leaving winter behind gave Cat a spring in her step. She approached the main doors of Fairview Nursery, nodding and smiling at the clutches of parents, some with older children on their way to primary school, most with pushchairs, hoping that none of them would notice her bag's unusual bulge. Alison was already in the office, printing off the day's register and listening intently to messages on the answer phone. Parents calling to say their child was ill and would be absent from nursery, someone wondering about the Easter opening hours. Cat lifted her bag off her shoulder and placed it carefully on the chair next to the coat hooks. It wriggled, her keys jingling alarmingly, and Alison flashed her a questioning look, her neat dark brows knitting together below her glossy fringe. Cat shrugged off her coat and scarf, hung them up and filled the kettle. "Good morning," Alison said when the messages had finished. "Did you have a nice weekend?" "Yes, thanks. A couple of nice long walks, a lie-in, a meal out with my friend. Polly?" "That's right." "The one you're living with?" "Yes, and her brother." Cat stirred milk into her tea and put a single sugar in Alison's coffee. "I've known her for years, and when this job came up, she stuttered. "They had space, so—" Her words trailed away, and she wondered how her boss, a few years older than her and about 3 inches shorter, could make her feel as if she was always on trial for something. Or maybe it was just today, because looking at Alison and listening to the muffled sounds coming from her handbag, Cat knew that she had made the worst decision since her move to Fairview. She blew on her tea, attempting nonchalance. "How was your weekend?" "Good," Alison nodded once. "Can you come and help me get the children's coats off? I'll be letting them in shortly." Cat rolled her eyes. As ever, she was denied a glimpse into her boss's personal life, any tidbit of information that might help Cat understand why a woman in her early 30s could be completely devoid of warmth, and yet be in charge of a nursery. Cat prided herself on her ability to get to know people, but Alison was an impossible case. She followed her into the classroom. Miniature chairs and tables were set out in front of a whiteboard, and there was a soft red carpet with scattered beanbags laid out for story time. The craft area, with a sink, bottles of squeezy paints and a jumble of brightly coloured aprons, was in the far corner. "We'll take the register on the carpet, then move into the first activity, exploring different sounds." "Sure." Cat knew all this. Alison planned out her lessons in minute detail and gave Cat a briefing every Friday afternoon on the following week's plans, ensuring there was no room for error or spontaneity. Cat longed to say something, but as the assistant, and only 2 months into the job, she had tried to stay in line, until today, anyway. In the playground, a couple of children, Peter and Tom, were pressing their noses up against the glass. Cat waved, and they waved back, their hands fingerless in woolly mittens. Behind them, Emma, 4 years old, and one of the most mature children, waited patiently, her long hair in plaits, while her mother pushed her baby brother's pram backwards and forwards. Emma was holding onto Olaf's lead, the cocker-spaniel puppy smelling the shoes of everyone around him, his tail wagging constantly. "I'm letting them in now," Alison said. Cat's wave froze in mid-air, and her stomach lurched. The small dog brought her thoughts back to her bag and what was inside. "Won't be a sec," Cat called as she hurried out of the room. Alison sighed loudly and flung open the double doors. Cat's handbag was on the floor, halfway across the office and making progress towards the door. What if Alison had seen it first? Would she have called the police, thrown it outside? Cat knew then that her plan hadn't just been stupid, it had been mind-numbingly ridiculous. She scooped the bag up, undid the zip further, and a black button nose snuffled.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?